May we all rise to welcome the arrival of Emeritus Senior Minister Goh Chok Tong. 欢迎吴资政的莅临。我们的吴资政 ，Thank you。可以，谢谢。好，请各位就坐，请各位就坐。Good afternoon to our guest of honor, Emeritus Senior Minister Goh Chok Tong, the author of Tall Order, Mr. Chui Huay, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to today's Tall Order, the Goh Chok Tong Story Dialogue Session, jointly and proudly organized by Chui Huay Lim Club, SMM CEO Reading Club, and the National Library of Singapore. So welcome back from the intermission. So I would like to express thanks to SMM CEO Reading Club members, Mr. William Tay, Mr. Tay Won Tik and Mr. Desmond Pei for showing us just now a few excerpts from first volume of the 4-part biography of Tall Orders before the breaks. So now is the moment that everyone of us is waiting for, the dialogue session with ESM Goh and our guest panel. So the discussion panel moderator will be Mr. Chui Huay. He is the author of Tall Orders. He is also the winner of the Singapore Literature Prize. And with him on stage are SMM's CEO Reading Club members, Mr. Tay Won Tik, Mr. Tay Pek Wei, and Ms. J. Teo. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hand together for ESM Goh, Mr. Tay, and the panel. Over to you.
Hi, very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Chui Huay, the author of Tall Order, and today I'm going to be your moderator. So we will do a quick discussion here on stage before we open the floor to questions from those of you for ESM Goh. So perhaps I can start with by inviting ESM to say a few welcome remarks.
I want to stand up first to see how high the ceiling is. Also because I want to see the people at the back. You also saw the what we call the theater stage where you see. So thank you very much all for coming. I want to start by apologizing. I know this is a Chinese reading club. So when they asked me to take part in the discussion over here, I told them if it's in the Chinese, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And I'm prepared to do it, provided Chui Huay will do all the translation. So he refused to do the interpretation. He said, don't worry, most of you are bilingual. So thank you very much for this session. I never had any intention of doing any memoirs. And a Tall Order is not a memoir. It's not a life story in a comprehensive sense of what I had done and achieved. I did not want to do a memoir because I don't believe in being egoistic. I prefer to be humble, just to live life as it is, without projecting your personality in a very egoistic way. So when my grassroots leader suggested that I should do it for the sake of Singaporeans, because we are looking into the future, they said I've got experience to share. And when I discovered Pei Hui, who wrote a book on Philip Yeo, I said the style is quite suitable. Because Pei, being a journalist before, would focus on the main events of interest to the people, not to me, but to the people. So he knew what readers would like to read. So Tall Order is actually a life story told in the form of episodes. And of course, I tried to build in my philosophy, why I did certain things. And the result is Tall Order. Now, the title went out very well, Tall Order. We're now working on the second volume. I do not know what the title will be, but I was playing in my mind that he would not know my thinking. That perhaps the title could be Long Odds. Long odds meaning that, the chances of my success as a Prime Minister were not guaranteed. So long odds of success. So that's one way. How does it sound to you?
That
Order,
actually
long
sounds
odds.
like a good title.
Well, if you don't like it, the other alternative is warm seat. Because people say a Prime Minister's job is in the hot seat. Hot seat, it's a very difficult job to do. Mine was a warm seat. I was a seat warmer. Okay, so I got two titles for him to think about in the second volume. Thank you.
I think I can start by maybe asking the first question to SM, because the Chinese edition of this book was launched 2 months ago, and since then I have been doing quite a few media interviews, Chinese radio stations, and several of them asked me this question: did the book turn out the way I thought it would? And I thought that it might be interesting for me to turn this question to you, SM. Did this book turn out the way you thought it might be?
Well, it's not what I think, it's what the readers think. And unanimously, people who have read the book when they saw me, I read the book, very enjoyable. So, very enjoyable, therefore, turns out the way I thought it should be. The book must be enjoyed. It's not meant to be history lessons, which many people would do when they write a memoir. So it turned out well. But that's not a problem. The problem is, second volume, how would it turn out?
Yeah, no pressure. We are working on the second volume right now, and I have been meeting ESM for regular interviews in the Istana. So if everything goes well, we hope to launch the second volume right about this time next year. So we look forward to your support when the book is out again. So perhaps maybe you would like to kick things off with a question for SM?
Sure. First I want to say it is indeed a very enjoyable book to read, and I shared just now. When you read this book, you read it with a perspective of what can I learn from the lessons in this book and apply it in the future, my business. And I was actually very touched by the fact that the MediSave, the implementation of MediSave and the need for you to change mindset. Those were difficult times. Those were difficult because we don't have a very educated workforce. People are still struggling with their daily life, and to now tell them that you need to set aside money for their MediSave, which they believe it is the government responsibility, and you were put there to replace Dr. Goh Chok Tong, and you are the next Minister for Health, right? So that is actually not a warm seat, it's actually a hot seat. So when you take over the hot seat, and you know that you implement what Lee Kuan Yew wants you to do, what actually went through your mind that make you do it differently and successfully implement the MediSave scheme?
Well, the first thing is whether I myself believed in the proposal that we must save for our own health down the road in our life. and I did. Having been trained as an economist and having worked outside the civil service in National Order Lines for a while, I know that you can't practice the socialist system. Dr. Toh Chin Chai believed that healthcare was a responsibility of the government. I mean, it's not wrong because that's how many other countries also ran their welfare, like in UK, for example, national health system. So he believed very strongly that healthcare was the responsibility of the government. Not enough money, just ask the finance ministry for more money. No, it's true. It's not a wrong belief at that point of time. But Mr. Lee was looking forward. Yes, government was responsible, but could we always have enough money? In other words, could we always raise taxes? And I think it's not easy because Ministry Cat has to raise GST by 2%. Not so easy to convince you to pay 2%. So I believe in it. Therefore, I thought, it was a good idea which I could run with a bowl. But I got to persuade the people. And I knew we could not just go to Parliament, announce that we're going to take so many percentage from the CPF or MediSave, because people will ask the question, but that's your responsibility as the government. So I spent a lot of time persuading people. Like this way, I went out to community centres, MPs organized dialogue sessions, and I talk until they told me, please stop, no need, you are convinced already. Home One was with me all the time. I suggested that they could ask me a few questions to warm me up. And then later on, we take the trouble to come. I am happy to entertain questions of you. And Chow Pao is here. But I know Chow Pao. If sensitive questions are asked of me, and I say the wrong thing, they won't publish it. So it's all right.
So yeah, it's true. Yeah, already. So please ask. Right? Yeah.
Think first. You let them think. You ask me some questions.
Throw a question over, right? So if you have a chance to change a part of your life again that's written in a book, which will it be?
Well, I would have preferred to go to a Chinese primary school and then switch on to English. Then I will be, bilingual. And today you could have a very lively discussion in Chinese. I say this seriously because I live in Pasir Panjang. My parents sent me to a Chinese school first, Hua Qiao, a Chinese school in Pasir Panjang. But I was a young kid at 6 years old. The people in the same class as me, included my uncle who was 4 years older. And there were a few other boys who were born in a post-war, about 5 years older and so on. My parents found me struggling in the class. So when the primary school behind my house, Pasir Panjang English Primary School, opened after the war, it was a school before the war, closed, and after the war opened, my father decided to send me to that school. By then I was 8 years old for primary 1. At the time I started school quite late. So of course, I had no problem, then I continued. As a result, monolingual, not bilingual. So had I studied in the Chinese school, I think I would be a different person today. I might not be where I am because my English might not be so good, I won't know. But that's the part on looking back, I regret, that I did not have a Chinese educated primary school. But I could have picked it up in secondary school. Unfortunately, most of us didn't bother about Chinese at that time. There was no Lee Kuan Yew to say bilingual policy. If you don't pass, then go to university. So we didn't bother very much. That's a regret.
Do you try to do it differently, SM, with your children and your grandchildren?
No, by then bilingual policy was in store. So I made sure that my children, I had a twin boy and girl, that they could pass the Chinese. So the only subject that we arranged tuition for them was Chinese. So they had a Chinese tutor who would come every week just to teach them and to speak to them. So they are bilingual, but I will not say they are effectively bilingual. They pass the subject.
Now, in this current state of economy, would you still think bilingual is enough?
The answer is, you think bilingual is enough? No, bilingual is just a language skill. It's not enough. It's a skill for you to acquire knowledge. So you got to know your science or maths and so on, but your bilingual ability gives you tremendous advantage. It's not just because of China doing business, but when you have two languages, it's like having two hands. Whereas now, if you're monolingual just one hand, you are limited in ability. It's a very different perspective. And today, if you know Chinese, your understanding of China is very different. I mean, you will be able to read the Chinese literature, the newspapers, the social media, and of course you have the English, so you can make your own judgment. Instead of just following one particular medium, whether it's Western educated press or Chinese press, you have different perspective. Much better, I think. But it's not enough to succeed in life for the general population. Unless you want to be an author like Chui Huay, then it's okay. You just write in Chinese and English, don't worry about economics, right? But engineering, all those skills you need, not just languages alone.
ESM, adding on to your point, because I'm born in 1990, which was the year that you took over the PM.
You mean that young? Okay, you are young, I know, but I don't know if that young. I think 83.
Let me ask a question on behalf of all the youth here. So you became a MD of NOL at the age of 32, so it's about 4 years after you joined NOL. So do you see the kind of opportunity or what challenges do you see that the current youth will have?
There's very different opportunities. I would say the current young people like you will have more opportunities like my generation. At that time, there were very few private companies which you could go into. So our good fortune was the government was starting companies, and the government lacked people to go into those companies. But Nalabala became president of DBS probably at about 35, 36. An important personality there at a younger age. In my case, I joined before I became 33, then I took over as MD because they did not have people. So that was the opportunity. But how many companies could the government start? SIA, which was actually after the Malaysian-Singapore Airlines split, so younger people in charge. What else could they do? A few other companies, the Jurong or Shipyard and all that, but very few opportunities. Today's opportunities for you, young people, is don't look towards the government to give you a company to run. Think in terms of starting your own company. So startups, there are very many. Or go to China, not startup, but just do business. You learn very quickly and then you can invest in China and you can succeed. So I think today the world is open to you. In my time, it's only a few Singapore companies open to us. I could not go to the private sector. No connection, 没有关系. So you don't know who. So it's a very, very different world. I think today's world is actually better for young people.
But SM, you may not have connections, but when you were with NOL, you had many connections in the maritime industry, in the maritime world. Were you tempted at any point to, move over to one of these big shipping companies based out of Hong Kong, other places?
No. I think went to NOL, you did it as, in a sense, national service, because it's a national shipping line. You work for the company, they didn't pay you very well, but you felt the satisfaction that you were doing something for your country. Had I joined other shipping companies, it is just for profit, for a good pay and so on. Not quite the same. The passion which you have for running the company will not be the same.
But SM, there's one connection. You actually was offered a job in Shell, right? And when Dr. Goh Keng Swee go and tell Shell not to take you, you can actually tell Shell, hey, there's a contract, right? I want to come. And the connection could make you a very different person today. Why didn't you? That's an opportunity. Why didn't you seize it?
Shell was very good. I was actually on honeymoon with my wife in Kuala Lumpur. I received a cable, please come back. So I thought he wanted me to report for work immediately. So I came back and I called on them. They told me the story, very sorry. Dr. Goh would not want to release you. So we have a contract. We will honor the contract, he said so. We will honor the contract. So had I decided to stay out, they would honor it. But you know, we are all very practical people. Even a young man like me was quite practical. They honor the contract. How long would they keep me? We don't know, because Dr. Goh will be hounding them. And if they could not keep me after a while, I returned to the civil service. They said Dr. Goh took me back. I think the feeling will not be the same. So I just said, okay, it's all right, I will stay back. But they did not give me, they meaning my old office, they gave me a farewell party. They did not give me a re-welcoming party. So that's life, just that. I think partly is in me, although money was important for me as a young man who just got married. So $300 increment was a lot of money. It's about 30% more than what I was getting. But it's not in me that I must chase after money. So I went back and I was quite happy with it. But worry in me that money was the main motivation would be very different. Then he said, no, never mind. Don't worry, just do a good job in Shell. If Shell will not want me, I just move on to some other places. But where? That's the point, where? No connections. Where do I move to?
Oh yes, and your connection, it's very limited, but to us it's boundless. Okay, that brings to the next question. The book actually showed a very strong sense of love for Singapore, for the country. So I just want to understand a little bit more. As you can see through the book, there are a lot of challenges you met through a political career, even before you become the Prime Minister. Is the love for Singapore your main source of motivation to hit on all these challenges? If it's not, then what else?
You put it in a very nice way for me, love for Singapore. But it's more, I think, you know, I myself would not put it in a way. I think it's more the understanding that without Singapore, there will be no me, meaning no future for me and my children. And that was drummed into me by Lee Kuan Yew. He told us, not just me, but he told us, Tony Tan, Nanawalan, and so on, as I said in the book. He would tell us, you know, what happened if a lorry runs over me? What will happen to Singapore? I mean, very vivid. So of course, I look very skeptical. Lorry running over him not so easy. It's got a backup car and so on. What if the airplane in which I'm in crashes? That's a possibility. So it's not just once or twice. He told us many times. In other words, telling the next generation that life is very fragile. And the country had worked, just left it to him and Goh Kin Sui and the others. What happened if they grew old and retired and so on? Who would run after Singapore? So in that sense, you were, without knowing it, you know, being brainwashed. Being brainwashed by him. So we understood, you know, being the people who went to university. At my time, only about 4% went to university. Now 40%. A country must be looked after. Just can't leave it to chance, just can't leave it to Lee Kuan Yew and the others. It's got to look after the country. So slowly, it became you. It's my responsibility now. I have to do it. If you put it as love for the country, well, that's the way you look at it. But for me, at that time was that sense of responsibility. That it's your duty. You have to do it. No other way. You have to do it. So you do it. Of course, you must love your country to do it. If you don't love the country, you will not do it. But the main motivation is not love the country. It's sense of responsibility, sense of duty. You have to do it.
Most of us here are business owner, SME. During this period of transformation and uncertainty period, what advice can you give to us?
You know, if you ask a consultant for advice, it's at least $10,000. Well, I use the usual stuff. It's not consulting in the sense that I can get you to do it. Is you got to innovate. You got to know the market. You got to be bold, and you got to look for opportunities. There are many opportunities out there as SMEs, but you got to have a product or service that people want. So that kind of advice I can give you. But what product, what service? You got to dig it out. So if I were SME, I won't ask for advice. I just decide what I can do and do it. The moment you go to ask for advice on how to succeed in business, you are not going to be very good. Would you agree? I mean, if you are doing business, I'm not doing business, you ask me for advice, how can that be? So just do it. And there'll be failures. So when you do it, don't put all your homes into the basket. There are many people who would make personal guarantee, put their homes into the basket. There's no guarantee you will succeed. When you fail, you are totally destroyed. Just borrow money, convince the bankers, and do it. If you lose, it's the banker's money. I'm not joking, because I learned this from YK Pao. YK Pao told me, say when you want to borrow money from the banks, borrow big. Don't borrow $1,000 to screw you. You borrow $1 million, you know, when your business goes down, they'll make sure your business doesn't go down. So in this case, of course, buying ships was borrowing millions of dollars. And you own maybe 30, 40 ships. And in bad times, when the shipping company threatened to be bankrupt, he laughed. He said the bankers were more worried than me. Because if I went bankrupt, the bank would own the ships, and they do not know how to run ships. So they need me. The bank will ask you, oh, it's bad time. How much more money do you need to keep your ship afloat? But your SME, you can't do it. So borrow big.
Then maybe I'll ask the next one. For all the youngsters here, a lot of people are saying that Gen Y and Gen Z are the strawberry generation, 草莓族. So, and we are going to be the next generation of leaders, maybe the 6th or the 7th generation of leaders of Singapore. Are you worried?
No. Why should I worry? Because you got to go on the basis that every generation must be different from earlier generations. So for older people like us, it's a strawberry generation, they are soft. But are they soft? They do national service, and the feedback which I've got even now from defense ministers, our people are not soft. They understand the importance of defending Singapore, they put in their training seriously, they are not soft. But what I'm worried is not because the next generation will be soft. My worry is for Singapore. Because our next generation has tremendous opportunities outside Singapore. So when there's a crisis in Singapore, when there's a crunch, they have options. In my time, Australia was not so liberal. A white Australia policy was still at the tail end. You could not migrate to Australia easily. The doors were closed. Now, our younger generation, bilingual, not just that, but very good in skills, as Singaporeans, very trusted. The passport of Singapore is, I think, the best in the world, trusted. So when you have a crisis, would they, no, I would say they will run, but would they say, would they stay and fight? I mean, we don't know. I think they probably would, but there's that question because they have opportunities outside. Our time, no opportunities. You got to fight. When your back is towards the wall, enemy is coming, you fight. But if there's no wall behind you, enemy is coming, you retreat. To fight another day, which is okay. Sometimes you retreat, that's all. Save your life. We don't know. I'm not saying next generation will be that way. I just say they have opportunities. They have options. They can decide. So I tell you what, you're the strawberry generation. Why don't you tell me, both of you, what would you do if you face a crisis?
I personally think that, I mean, in our generation, there will be leaders, and then there will be leaders that will bring our people together moving forward. So, I mean, I've gone through NS, and I believe that no matter what challenges, there ought to be people that are tough enough to face it.
For me, right, I grew up under total defense. So I know when is total defense, and I know what to do. So my storeroom, although it's a lot of things, but I still know, like, during crisis time, we'll know how to where to hide. So the next thing is that I'm also a mother.
Where to hide?
No, during a bomb raid, right, you know where to hide first, and after that you'll take the gun out and fight, right? Yeah, but no matter what, my kids will still stay in Singapore. My boys will still take NS in Singapore. That's my take for now. Even though we are all part of Strawberry Generation. Yeah.
Therefore, I won't worry. If that is the general attitude, which I think it is, because people know we built a country. We're not going to let this country just go to waste, give it to somebody else. We built it up, we can fight, and we will fight. Therefore, if you put it that way, and you represent your generation, I'm not, therefore, no. I can, after this dialogue, go back and sleep.
One to supplement, right? If there is one word of advice for this Strawberry Generation, which is going to be the 6 or 7 leaders of Singapore, what would it be? One word.
Well, I think from the answers, you will know what that one word is. Serve. You don't seem to be very impressed by my answer.
I think maybe it's time for us to open it up to the floor. So if you have a question, please put up your hands, and maybe right over here in red. And can someone please pass the mic over? Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, ESM Goh. My name is Jampen. I would like to ask, as we all know, pragmatism is the strategy adopted by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, as well as PAP as a national strategy. Of course, it worked well, but in today's context, in your view, what is the pros and cons of this pragmatism strategy? Thank you.
Well, I think before I answer that, where is the Jiao Bao reporter? So far, so good. You know, Jiao Bao reporter like Pei Xing Wei, they're always looking for mistakes by you. Journalism is that way, then they blow it out. Jiao Bao less than the Straits Times. No, but that, so far, so good, isn't it? Okay. No, you see, I'm being pragmatic over here. Now, pragmatism is not an ideology, like socialism or democracy and so on. It's just a way of life. You got to have conviction of what you want to do. You got to have a vision. You got to have a certain sense of ideology. You must have it. So, if that ideology which you have doesn't work in the context of environment of real events, you got to be pragmatic. So I exercise pragmatism. I would have gone to Shell had Dr. Goh not stopped it. My life might be different, but I was pragmatic. That Shell had a pioneer certificate from a finance minister, a finance ministry. And at that time, the finance minister could put a lot of obstacles in the way of Shell. So Shell said, well, I would honor the contract if you would like to carry on. But the way he put it, you knew that he actually wanted you to leave, you see. And Shell told me, don't worry about Dr. Goh. I would honor the contract. Dr. Goh house you, I will send you to UK to study, to train further, and then you can work UK. There's nothing Dr. Goh can do to you. That will be different. That will be different, isn't it? But you say, no, this is... So that's pragmatism. So being pragmatic, I say, well, stay where I was. Okay?
As a national strategy, I mean, pros and cons for Singapore as a nation.
As the national strategy.
And in my view, when you put more emphasis on pragmatism, you will have less emphasis on ideology. Of course, pragmatism is not ideology, it's a strategy. Thank you.
You see, you got to have idealism. When I say pragmatism, I am not saying you should not have any ideals. You must have ideals. You must have imagination. This is what I want my life to be. This is what I want Singapore to be. Idealistic, painted by older generation or by younger generation. Does not matter. You must have ideals. And then you have to decide whether those ideals could be implemented. You try to implement them. If they can't, then you adjust. In other words, as you daydream, as we all should do, you must daydream, but you must have your feet firmly planted on the ground. That's pragmatism. If you daydream and your feet are not on the ground, you are in the clouds all the time, you won't succeed in life. Feet on the ground. That's pragmatism. That's my definition.
Okay, the next question, feel free to ask. There's a hand up all the way at the back. Feel free to ask in Mandarin. And since we're in Chui Huay Lim, Teochew or Hokkien as well.
Mr. Goh, I'm from the Merdeka generation, and in 1980, I was around, I was not even 30 yet. So, but I was at a shock, when Mr. Lee Kuan Yew talked for many nights, I remember, on television about how bad was Nanta and why, and he want it shut down. He tried to tell the whole Singapore how bad was Nanta. I know Nanta, finish, let's close it down. And what I'm trying to say now is, maybe this hindsight now. If Nanta still exists today, it will be a very valuable asset to Singapore because it's the first overseas Chinese universities. But if you are the Prime Minister at that time, in 1980, would you be doing the same thing? Would you think that Nanda is finished? And then another question now actually was, should we start another Chinese language university in Singapore today? I got an answer before at in another forum, and that was, it's difficult now because we do not have Chinese language students among us, and it will take time for the universities to get the students to join it.
Who gave you the answer?
Well, there was I attended this 中乡会馆 the forum. So they are also talking about culture. We are losing our Chinese language.
Was the answer given by a minister?
No. He's not a minister, but he's a professor, I think. But he said it's difficult because he said we do not have the students, and it will take time. It's difficult now to do it, but should we do it?
Okay, you have two questions. First, if I were Prime Minister, would I do things differently? If I were Prime Minister, I had the personality of Lee Kuan Yew, I would do the same as he did. So, on looking back, was he right? I think that's what you meant. Was he right in closing down Nanta? By 1980, I was already in cabinet. So I knew a little of his thinking. His concern was not closing down Nanta because there was a Chinese university. That was not his concern, because that would be wrong totally. His concern was the deteriorating standard of university education in Nanta. In other words, Nanta started off very well, but by 1980 the standard had gone down, and it was a very emotional thing for him. So he was trying to bring it under NUS so that the two could be integrated and the standard could be raised. Of course, by doing that, you're actually pushing down further this Chinese university education. So that's the history. So would I do it differently? Of course, when you look back, if you see the future, you might do it differently. Because you say, oh, China is going to rise. I better save Nanta. How? I may open it to other foreign students. Where? The Malaysians were already coming. Then you got to pay more to get good professors to come. That's different, you see, because they were not able to pay the professors well. I could have made it into a national university funded by the state because China was going to rise and it will be so important. You see. So on hindsight, one could of course say many things to do things differently. But at that point of time, if you ask many people, Chinese educated, I do not know, you ask many others, where would China be in the year 2019? At the time, many people would say, I think they'll go nowhere. So it's very different. So the answer is, even Lee Kuan Yew, don't talk about me, Lee Kuan Yew, today with hindsight, would he have done things differently? I believe he would do things differently because of the importance of Chinese. Then you treat it differently, you put money into the university to sort it out. But Nanta was founded as a private university at the time, not much support from the government. Okay, so again, being pragmatic. Do you cry? I know you cry, but no, we are all practical. Say, okay, move on. And many Nanta people I knew, they say, let's move on. No point crying over episode where they felt very emotional about. When I visited Nanta, I think by then I was probably PM, it's just for a function. Oh no, sorry, I have to tell another story. Before we started NTU, Nanyang Technological University, we were trying to preserve the name Nanyang University. So that's very important because to preserve it for the connection that NU, Nanyang University, was for them and for Singapore. So say, but this university was going to be a technological university. So the word technology must be there. Just calling it Nanyang University would not have that attraction for the new students, which is technology. So we turn around or playing around with the name. How should we call it? The obvious name is Nanyang University of Technology. That would sound very good. Nanyang University of Technology. Until we put it in acronym NUT, say that's not very good. All the graduates are not graduates. We could not do it. Then you say, okay, how about Technological University? No, yeah, Technological University of Nanyang. Put it the other way down. Then Tun. Tun. No. You are very Tun, it's not so good. Hokkien, clumsy, and so on. And also, Tun, good name in our country up north. Then they'll be very angry with us because every graduate of Nanyang is a Tun. We couldn't do it. And we came up with this very difficult acronym, NTU. Even to pronounce in English is difficult. Nanyang Technological University. So it's not that we did not understand the importance of Nanyang University. We tried. Compromise with Nanyang Technological University. So when I went to Nanyang later on, one of the alumni functions, they asked me the question, would you rename it Nanyang University? I was okay with it. Drop the word technology, just call it Nanyang University. NU, Nanyang University. But the graduates of Nanyang Technological University objected. So we are graduates of NTU, not NU. So very confusing. And MOE advised against it. I actually asked MOE to consider. The faculties of Nanyang Technological University also objected, because NTU to NU, you gave it a very different coloration and interpretation. So it's not that we did not understand the emotions of Chinese education at Nanyang University. So pragmatism, that's one illustration of pragmatism, how we move forward.
Okay, so can we have a question here from
Jiao Bao, so far okay, yeah? This question is
sounds like the Zhao Bao story for tomorrow.
Jiao Bao is more interested in current stories. This is old story.
吴志珍，请问呢？现在我们的传统的行业面对许多困境跟挑战，你可以给我们一个指导跟方向，未来的我们应该准备什么？谢谢。
Okay, I think it's better for you to interpret for the sake of those here who don't understand Chinese.
So you're saying facing a lot of challenges in businesses and disruption as well. So looking for what advice you would give for SMEs going forward?
No, particularly the traditional business. Those traditional businesses like kopitiam business, right, or trading business, or textile, very traditional business?
Well, I think the advice is you've got to be, able to adjust. If the demand for those things is not there, let's say you run kopitiam. If you find the younger generation prefers to go to Starbucks and pay 4-5 times the cost of it, you have to adjust, and that's a demand. Then how do you meet competition with Starbucks? You probably got to sell things in a way, which younger people would like. The younger people go to Starbucks, and so it's not to drink coffee, it's to socialize. And they walk around with a cup of Starbucks, they feel very good. Starbucks coffee, I can afford it. I can afford it, you see. You can't, I can afford it. So, kopitiam, you have to change the style. Just give an example. Repackage it, make it a bit more upper to meet the needs of the younger generations. But why do you need to do it? You can say there's a group of older generation Singaporeans who cannot afford Starbucks. I make my coffee as good, in terms of taste, even better as Starbucks, but I cater to the older market. That's one example. Other traditional, the textiles. Again, we got to be realistic. We used to have textile industries in Singapore because we were operating under the quota system. Every country, developing country, was given a quota by the European Union, by the US. So because we got a quota, we made use of the quota to manufacture textiles and sell to Europe and sell to US. But we didn't have local companies. We brought in Hong Kong and Taiwanese companies to do textiles over here. Then we sold. But textiles, after a while, Vietnam and the other places were cheaper than you. And EU removed the quota system. What do we do? For a while, the companies moved into garments. That means we make garments, we make clothes. Fashionable clothes designed by foreigners, we just make them. Then over time, we are not competitive. We are not competitive. China, Vietnam, India, Bangladesh became more competitive in making garments. So we have to let their garments go. But what do? These companies, they bring Singapore to Myanmar, Cambodia, and other places where costs are cheaper. So for your traditional business, if you find that that business is not going to be profitable, just move on, do something else, create something for yourself. You can see it's very traditional, people like it, there's no demand. Economics is a matter of supply and demand. Demand is there, there'll be people who supply. There's no demand, the supply, no point, you have to change it. But there are instances where you can create the supply, people want it. This is like your Facebook, Googles, and today's industries, economy. You create something, people want it. So the advice is create, is it? Okay. Well, your English is very good, your understanding.
Thank you. A question maybe from...
Even if he was Chinese, he didn't quite interpret right, so you got to help him.
I got 90%. Give me...
No, it's not easy to follow because thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, the lady in the middle over here. Yeah, in white. Can we pass the mic to her, please?
Good afternoon, SM. It's glad to see you here in person. You were saying just now, going to China to do business, probably, a lot of businessmen has to think about that. Now, with the raising up of China, they call themselves as the Chinese model that contribute to the success of China being today. We would say number one or number two. And with the chaotic situations as today, what do you think Singapore will face? Yeah, and another question is, what contribute to the success of Singapore? Do we have so-called Singapore style, and will this Singapore style will continue to bring the prosperity to our nation? Thank you.
Well, I think the second question is very important. There is such a thing called Singapore style of doing business. There is. And that Singapore style is we must be trusted by people. So when we go to China, especially our accountants and financial officers, they are trusted because that's our upbringing. And hotels, foreign hotels, for example, if you have a Singaporean financial officer, they'll be very happy, they trust you. So that style must be continued. Secondly, trust alone is not enough. You must offer something, service, skills, knowledge, expertise. If you have all those and you have trust, you will succeed. And financial sector, for example, we long ago, when we started our financial sector, we followed the Switzerland example. We gathered funds from all over the world and we offered secret accounts. Secret accounts, means you put money here, no questions be asked. Nobody can ask you any questions for information regarding the accounts. But that model would not be possible today because the world would move towards a more transparent system because people were avoiding taxes and worse, terrorism money laundering, all kind of money coming in, not to Singapore, but to many other places that operated their system. So we changed our model. That would not be practical. We don't need it. We needed it long ago, but today, no, that's not the way to do business. The world won't allow you. So we move on to a financial center of trust. In Singapore, regulations are there. They'll be fairly implemented. So that trust, I think, is important. So trust plus expertise. Expertise, we do not have enough. Acquire expertise. Open ourselves to foreigners, foreign banks, IT, fintech. So we had all kinds of ways to get them to come over here and anchor them over here. So there is a Singapore way of doing things. On the first question, it's going to be more challenging if this rivalry between US and China becomes heated up. What do we do as a country? You cannot take sides because both sides are very important to Singapore's future. As an economy, as a friend, as a place for investments, both countries are very important. So if you are faced in that situation, then you use the Singapore model. We take side on the basis of principles. So what are our principles as Singaporeans or as Singapore? Depends on the issue. So whatever issues you debate over that, is no, this is my principle, I take this position. Sometimes you'll be closer to the Chinese position, sometimes it's closer to the US position, but we are not taking sides, we are taking sides on a set of principles. So that's very important that people know where you're coming from. If you try just to who is winning, I take your side. Then you'll be squashed. So there are certain ways of doing things. So we just hope that the situation as we see now will improve over time. Because we do need both China and US to be playing big parts in the world. And the world is big enough for both countries to play their respective roles. And better if they were to compete and cooperate. They compete where they should and they cooperate where they could. It will be a better world in that sense.
Good afternoon, SM.
Sorry, over here, then the next one over there. Okay, thanks.
Recently, I think for last month, especially on June, Hong Kong have a big issue on those young generation and all the students strike on the for the government. So I just want to see from the ESM Goh, your opinion on what government, Singapore government, we can learn from this incident. And second is also the EVA Airline have a very serious strike on history. So what SQ, SIA, we can learn from all these incidents?
Well, I think we can learn a lot from these incidents, but since they involve Hong Kong, our good friend, and Taiwan, our good friend, I think it's better that SIA, I'll tell them to learn from the incident, I'll tell MFA to learn from the Hong Kong incident. And I will not let you learn what my answers will give you on what we think.
Over there. Yes.
ESM Goh, thank you very much for honoring us with your presence this afternoon. My name is Sylvie Ko. We heard you loud and clear about the importance of embracing the challenges and innovate in order to navigate better in the future. Just wanted to have your take and your thoughts about all that revolves around blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and the stance that Singapore and the role that Singapore would like to play in this new field. Thank you.
This is a field which will be very important in the future. Blockchain, and virtual currency, digital economy, and so on. We got to understand it. But at this stage, we do not quite know where it will lead us, especially on the banking system. Whether your Ali Pay, and the other system will become the new currency of the future. What is the meaning of money? So all these questions are being asked now. And what is the future for banking? So it's still too early to say. We should not prevent them from innovating. At the same time, let's not be so bold as to embrace everything, because once your banking system is affected by our allowing, let's say, a digital bank to suddenly shut down your domestic banks, your traditional banks, and so on, we do not know the consequences. So the view that we have will be watch this, study this, see where it's going, and of course, hopefully, you can anticipate, you can take decisions before others can take before you. Then you are ahead. So how to be ahead of the curve? That's what we are looking at. You've got to monitor this, but don't be too reckless by just moving too quickly on this. But that's the future. Maybe, I don't think everybody knows what is blockchain. You have to explain to the audience here what is blockchain. You've got book, no, but not all are book readers over here. No, okay, they are, so you know. But it's a new technology, you got to know what it is. Some kind of a distributor technology and so on. I'm okay for questions. But I want to test my 3 old colleagues over here. They listen attentively. My question is a simple one. Have you read the book? No order. Okay, all 3 have read the book. Have you read the Chinese edition?
Mr. Goh,
No, is it?
I read your book, the English one, in one day.
Okay, and the Chinese. Have you read the Chinese book?
I read the
Chinese book.
I find the difficult one to read, and it's very excellent translation.
No, that is Chinese very. Okay, Chinese book you read in 2 days.
No, Chinese book I on. But the English one, I take 1 day to finish it. So
But you are now reading the Chinese.
yeah, on now. Yeah.
And the translation I heard is very good. Excellent.
Excellent.
Okay, is the translator here? No, but I was told it's very good.
But yeah,
We read it.
she was experienced enough, and she was with us on the Decoys Memoir.
Oh, she was with
Yes.
you. And hey, have you read it?
I think he has no choice.
I like these books, the Chinese books.
Chinese, yeah, like the Chinese, but you read the English.
English, yes. English
This
just
question is a bit sensitive.
when I read the English version, I need to read a long time.
Okay, but a bit sensitive.
Few-
A bit sensitive. You read the draft before I did.
No, he didn't.
Did you read the draft of the books before I read the draft? What a son. Normally I would clear my father first.
I have read the English one, but not the Chinese version.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Have you bought a copy?
I have not.
It's available.
Yeah, it's available. Yeah.
You got to buy the book, otherwise people will say, I read the book but never.
I said, man,
$23 only.
and I bought many books and gave to my friends.
Okay.
And,
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah,
Singh.
really. And I also bought a book for your friend. The reason I bought it because your girl, she's also girl. And she asked me to ask you one question. This picture doesn't look like you're 4-year-old.
How old would that be?
You said you're 4-year-old.
Yeah, I think so.
But she said cannot be 4-year-old.
Oh.
At least 6 or 7. Yeah. I
6
said,
or 7, so chubby. But I saw the photograph, and at the back, there was something scribbled there, 4 years old. But that's the only photograph I had. And I did not have a younger one. I did not have 6, 7 years old. I did not have. At that time, where do you own cameras? This was taken in the studio, I think. Well, your mother would be slightly older than me.
88.
88, much older than. So she will know.
We have time for maybe 2 more questions. So anyone, maybe especially those at the back, if you haven't had an opportunity, just put out your hands and we'll pass the mic over to you. There's one closer to the front here. Maybe you can give to this lady, the 3rd row. Then,
I think after that, I want to get a sense of the SMEs here. So if 2 or 3 of them not asking questions, just tell me what are they doing as SMEs. Now, other SMEs is small and medium-sized enterprises. What are they? What do they do? What are the traditional things which are doing? I get a better sense of the people who are here today. So ask questions, then you'll tell me.
So sorry, so I won't be going into SME
No,
questions,
it's okay.
but more from the perspective of a mother.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe 2 questions, SME Goh. First, maybe to share with us snippets of incidents between you and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Any of those days when you guys were, colleagues, and any light-hearted incidents to share with all of us. And the next question is as a mother whose son is actually from the same alma mater as you. He's now at a cross junction where serving army and making decision what to do next. Mr. Heng Swee Keat has previously shared with us that STEM is one area that many of the youngsters are not going after nowadays.
What is that as?
STEM.
Oh, STEM.
Yeah. So I mean, I hope to have some advice from you with regards to how we can advise our son, who's now, like I said, preparing to go for his tertiary education.
Where's the son?
Army.
Yeah.
Serving. Thank you.
Well, I think for that question, you have to look into the future. What would the world be like? Where would the demand for skills? And what can you do to fit into that world? But first, you have to pursue your own interests. What are you good in? What are you interested in? Let's say you are the type, who would like to imagine things, to go for humanities, literature, history, and so on, because you love that kind of subjects. You're good in them. And even though you find that demand will be for your blockchain, your technology, your IT, but it's not what you like. Don't go for the second one, even though the demand for that is greater. You are going to be miserable in your life. Or put it the other way. If your parents say, look, be a doctor, make a lot of money, very good profession, but it's not your real interest, don't go for that. Do what you love to do because it's going to be your whole life. I think that's number 1. But if you are quite flexible, I myself, on looking back, I love the humanities part. I probably would choose in university a science-based syllabus, because those are founded on very concrete stuff. You can do science, then you be an engineer. It would not mean that I would end up as an engineer, but that kind of a grounding will be very good for somebody who can after that pursue your other interests. As an engineer, you can go into finance, you can pick up economics, you can pick up other humanities subjects, sociology or whatever, history. But if you miss out on that education, you want to be an engineer after that, it's not possible. You want to learn about technology, very difficult, because you haven't got the basics, what you call the basics. So go for something which will be science-based for the future, and then you can pursue your other interests. But my main point is, do what you are interested in. Otherwise, you'll be very miserable in your life, even though you're making big money. It's not something which you're interested in, you see. So the first part, that shows you have not read my book yet. So I would say read the book. The book is interesting because it's the first part where there was a lot of interaction between me and Lee Kuan Yew. So that made it interesting. It's like both of us having a dialogue, doing things. He wanted me to do certain things, I would not want to do certain things. Any funny story which I can recall offhand between myself and Lee Kuan Yew? Actually, the stories are not funny, he scolded me many times.
Actually, he do that to everybody.
But not openly, not publicly. Yeah, he did it to everybody. He did it to everybody. He said, whom he thought could do more things, and he was disappointed. then he will be quite open, very sincere. He thought you could do certain things, but you were not living up to his expectation. Then you hammer you.
Special publicly.
Not only me, he did it to poor Augustine Tan in Parliament House. I was there. My first term there as an MP. The way he gave Augustine Tan, very, very tough. So when I got it, I said, yeah, this is Lee Kuan Yew. First time you would not know where to hide your face, but he did to me. I said, no, that's Lee Kuan Yew. He just felt very disappointed with certain performance. With the performance of certain ministers, he just went for you. But it's not. He did not mean it in a personal way. So that's how we interacted. That's how I could survive, because this is professional. It's not personal. He wanted you to do better. It's like Kung Fu master. The Kung Fu master will hammer you if you don't practice hard. Blue, black, and so on. But it's for your own good. Okay.
Okay, let me just give you a flavor of the entrepreneurs that we have. We got Jing Mei, Adonis, Ai Mei, remember? Someone that sells the cosmetic skincare brand. Yeah, Adonis. There's some.
But imported, or she concocted her own cosmetic?
No, all local.
All local.
All local. Yeah.
Local ingredient.
Local ingredient. Yeah.
So you put in some durian flavor.
No, but she has moved on to do wellness for women. Right?
Yeah. Okay, please tell me.
I'm sorry, former PM and SM, I think I am under your leadership. All right, I love you as usual, and today I'm very happy and surprised that the whole environment is very relaxed. It's not what I thought. In fact, before I came, I read your book. I love Chui Huay's book. First one is
Is it my book or his book?
It's written by him. Sometimes it can be
see, I love your book. Do you love my book or do his book?
Both of you. Both of you, in fact. Okay, I put many marking in my book. In fact, I have a lot of questions to ask. But today, looking at all the questions, I go along with that. Just now, because I come from SME, you asked a question. You mentioned that, you see, for Singapore to survive, of course, you're talking about integrity, trust, and all that. These are all the software, all right? Talking about hardware, I think we have done anything that is possible. For instance, if we want to carry on Singapore style, you mentioned also hire people of competence. Of course, maybe it's MMC. What about people like us? We are constrained, we are restricted by all the, monetary kind of, the kind of problem. What would you suggest for us to move on? What kind of skill do you think Singaporeans should have to carry on? I like one part about scolding. You mentioned about your mentor scolding you a lot, because my son is here. I want him to know sometimes scolding people take a lot of effort, but I'm sure your mentor, LKY has, our SMN past SMN has helped you a lot. I believe you want to share with us more. First of all, there are two questions. I'm a bit greedy. How do you encounter the kind of scolding process? Especially in public. The second thing is, how should SME acquire? What kind of skill that we can continue to be ahead of? In the economic world. Thank you.
Well, when you get scolded by your martial arts mentor, Kung Fu master, just accept it. Don't talk back, because the Kung Fu master knows more Kung Fu than you. And don't walk out, because you will not be able to benefit from the teachings of the Kung Fu master. You could have just walked out. So okay, you walked out. You will never be a Kung Fu master. So in this case, I knew what the job was. You got this, but it's not personal, you say, okay, why did they do it? What can I learn from this? Then you learn. You see. I could have walked out. If you think I'm not good enough, so what? I never wanted to be a prime minister anyway. That's your son. Carry on. Then you will never be the prime minister, which is okay. But people will look down on you. You were selected by your friends, your leader, and just one scolding, you will let us all down. You let Singapore down, you can't do it. Because the scolding was meant to do you good. So what do I do? How do I react? I just borrow his word. I look very wooden, just become very wooden. That's all. That's what we do. That's a purpose. So you carry on. Then advice again for SMU. Again, come back to risk. You are in business more than I do. I can only offer general advice, but you got to look for something. You have got a good product. Then you got to ask yourself, would there be competitors? How do I improve? So when I talk about durian flavor, I'm not joking. Because now when you go outside, there are many things with durian flavor. And there's a Singaporean who produced durian flavored biscuits. And it's all durian. Not for your cosmetic. It's all durian. It's quite expensive. One box, I think, about $40. I said, my God, I'm not going to pay that amount of money. But he gave me one to try. It's like your crispy biscuits. So he tried many times to capture that original durian flavor. And he told me this is Mao Shang Wang's flavor. So you can do that. So people are experimenting. I'm not sure at that price he will succeed. But he was thinking of the Chinese market, the Taiwanese market, where you can't easily export your fresh durians. And it's for homesick Singaporeans who might not mind buying, just for the durian flavor. So in your case, do some research. You may discover that durians contain special nutrients that will make your skin glow. You never know, isn't it? When you do research, you follow. That's how people do it. But more importantly, it may make you so attractive. Smells like durian. But be careful, durians either attract or repel. Because in some cases, a durian flavor attracts many people. In other cases, people don't like it. They repel. So this is what I meant is experiment with all this, which I think you are doing. What is the main ingredient of your cosmetic? Aromatherapy. A mixture of your oil and so on. But you won't tell us what is the main oil you put in. Yeah, you see? So you experiment and you discover that combination. People like it. But it may be a fad. After a while, you get to discover new things all the time.
We also have micro SME like Jing Chuan, who does a house of planner. Let me sell diaries. Kenny, all these diary books. And he has transformed his business too.
I'm interested because diary is outdated nowadays. Nowadays everything is in your notebook.
Yeah, but he has transformed his business.
Okay, please, tell us how you transform.
荣誉国务资政吴作栋，等一下你们要翻译一下比较好。其实这本书呢，对中小企业有一个很特别的作用，因为我们的吴作栋他是从李光耀接手过来的。然后他又交给李显龙，这个过程在所有的中小企业里面都面对的问题。很多人他要接棒的时候很痛苦，他要交棒的时候很痛苦。吴作栋他就是最痛苦的一个人，但是他把他的痛苦全部很真诚的写在这本书里面。我们看人家的自传，我们最怕人家讲假话，但是这本书里面，吴作栋讲的是真话，因为他还在。所以对中小企业，你们要怎么交班，要怎么 hand over 怎么交棒，怎么接棒，怎么交棒，这本书中小企业的人一定要买。你们买了之后，吴作栋的答案全部都在里面。我感谢总理前总理吴作栋，你们要翻译一下嘞。
不需要。 Any more question?
Yeah, Jason.
Oh, Jason.
Jason, country.
Good afternoon, ESM Goh. I have a question here about parenting. I remember when you was Prime Minister, you ever quote, child education must be taught 20 years before the child was born. You quoted that.
I don't think so. How can they say child education must be taught 20 years before the child is born? Right?
Because the parent will learn from the very young age. When they was a child, they start learning parenting. I try to get what
I don't remember that. I cannot be so good, you know.
In my research, I've never come across that.
Okay.
So,
let's say it's true. What's the point?
Do you think that, this parent, it's very important for us to how we teach our children the values, how you educate our children. Like a lot of people say that child got no problem. It's the parent that how they're being brought up to. So my question is, in your view, during your days as a Prime Minister, the parents, compared to today's parents, are the parents doing a better job today? If not, what would you advise? Thank you.
To be frank, I have no basis to make a comparison. It's a very important question, whether today's parents are doing a better job than yesterday's parents. But I haven't seen surveys, I haven't read any of this. So it's very dangerous to give an opinion on something where you haven't seen any statistics or any surveys. But I would say it's different in a way. Today's parents have fewer children to look after. And they could, theoretically speaking, be spending more time with the children. In our days, the parents had no time because they have so many children. And it is actually the siblings, the brothers, sisters, to look after one another. Do re mi fa so and so and so on. The elders will pass on the clothes to the second to the third. And the main thing is the elder one would take on the responsibility of parenting. Parenting in the sense that you would also teach them values. So the elders would have got it from the parents. Today is different because children are brought up by the maids. It is a very serious question. We are also busy. We just pass on to the maids, and when we feel guilty, we just buy them toys, gifts, and so on. You say bribe them, but we feel guilty, so we travel a lot. Both parents travel quite a lot. So when they come back from work for this, you always buy something for them. Not quite the same. So, but I'm not making comments. I think it's different style, and I would say parents know how to compensate for the lack of time with their own children. But if I look at those born in the 1990s, still okay. I mean, they're all right. See, so they are young parents.
He's going to get married in September.
But according to Jason Tang, you must have learned parenting 20 years ago. It's not wrong. What it meant is, when he was young, the way the parents brought him up actually shaped your thinking as parents. So in that sense, you learned 20 years ago, as a child, you grew up, oh, that's how my parents brought me up, that's how they did things. That is in you, the values are in you. So when you become parents, it's not your own values, it's actually your parents' in value which you are putting across to the other side. So in that sense, I think I probably said all those things. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Okay, I think we have come to the end of today's dialogue.
So we have one more question. Can we take another question, ESM?
I'm all right.
One last one.
Thank you,
Sure.
ESM.
最后一个问题，请问吴作栋资政，关于这个，因为最近这个Bitcoin 的这个东西非常，就是虚拟这个货币的问题，相当重要。那么政府又批准了要投标5间这个非银行营业者呢来经营这个东西了。我是想到说，因为这个是新的东西，不懂会不会我们人民对这个问题的了解不懂会不会够深？ 因为现在很多市面上都有很多这种 Bitcoin 什么，我们新加坡本身就有一个 Bitcoin 在出现了，啊，还有最近又有这个报界又在宣传这个什么Mr. Sun 他怎么在这个 Bitcoin 这个里面赚了很多钱了，从他赚了2000多倍的这个，他买的那个东西呢，那个 coin 增长的非常厉害，所以我是怕说，在这样的情况底下，我们新加坡人哇好惨了，那么也去买这 Bitcoin 了，所以我会不会导致以后再出现这个好像那个雷曼兄弟这种情形发生？所以我是想说，政府在这方面会做些什么的教育人民或者因为政府也是讲说这个是 uncontrollable、unmanageable， 现在又没有条例管制我想请问，现在到底有没有银行法律的或者什么公司法律的一些东西来管制这个？新这个政府就要投标这个给5间这个非银行的公司来经营这个 Bitcoin 之类经营银行这个行业。Thank you.
So the question is related to the one asked earlier about blockchain and the technology. Because Bitcoins, again, is something which MAS, Finance Ministry, will have to decide. Do we totally disallow, or do we say we allow 5 of them to start and monitor very carefully to understand where this will be leading us? It's not in Singapore alone. Other countries may start. If we don't start earlier, and you find that this Bitcoin is going to be, cryptocurrency is going to be the currency of the future. That Google is going to start something big, and they succeed, we are behind time. So we allow 5, and I think they're monitoring it very closely. At the moment, you cannot have regulations because we don't know how to regulate. But if you allow them to start and they are working together with the MAS, say, okay, what regulations will be required? So these are all new fields where we've got to watch carefully. So should we, on our own, jump in and buy Bitcoins? Again, it depends on each one of us. But in life, if you are greedy, you'll never benefit. Say, 200-300 times, buy. You may be lucky. You go in now, you make a lot of money, but you may not be so lucky. So each one has got to make its own judgment. But I find that in life, don't be too greedy. If you're too greedy, you may make money, but one day you're bound to suffer. Don't be too greedy. Just be cautious. Then you take your own risks. That's for the Bitcoin.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's been a great afternoon. So yes, please thank SM is going to take his leave, and he will not be signing autographs today. But if you don't mind, I will sign the autograph. I'm going to stick around. So, but again, can we please thank SM for spending the Sunday afternoon?
ESM, there's a request that since today is such a special day that you are here with all of us, could we invite you to have a group photo with the audience over on the floor? Yes, please. 我们现在很荣幸邀请到吴资政来大家一起合照。
You stay where you are. I sit on the floor, then you take from there.
Yes, please. This is for you to see.
Okay. You want to do a Wi-Fi from here? I think it's a very nice picture.
Yes,
Thank you. And those at the back can stand. Those in the front stand up. Now sit down. Okay.
Thank you.